Good evening, everybody, and welcome back, and welcome to the new people. Let me remind everyone that this is being recorded, and it will wind up on the website for people who miss it, so they can go listen to it, and it will therefore also be available to anybody else who knows it's there and is sufficiently interested. And this is not so that you'll control your language, it's just so that you know that, I don't care what you say, but it's just so that you know that it will be available for others who are not here tonight to hear. So, this week's flashcard should have been more fun than the previous ones. All the previous flashcards, what I see is hypnotism, what I hear is hypnotism, what I think is hypnotism, things like that, and the ones before that even were all about emptying out and giving up in a sense of being left without anything. And to me, the flashcard, this does not require my thinking, is a relief. Oh yeah, I don't have to think about this. So I suspect that, and this may not be everybody's experience, but for some of you, I expect your experience will be that there's sort of a release, relaxing, kicking back. I know that it happened for me 3 or 4 times during the week when I would stop and think, oh my, I've got to start thinking about next Monday's class. And then the flashcard jumped up, nope. So you guys are you're on a wing, because I don't need to think about this class anymore, ever. I do not need to think about this class. So the pressure's off. So let's share about who had fun with it and if you encountered any situations in which you think you did need to do some thinking. I'd be interested to hear about those, or if you just discovered that you didn't need to, whatever. Let's hear about it. Jump in, Diane.
Well, I have it's interesting the way you just described that, because those last group of flashcards, whenever I would say one of those, my mind would start arguing with that. Mm-hmm. And get into some debate or something and whatever. This one to me was as powerful as self-inquiry for me. It just stopped dead. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was no argument. It was kind of like, oh well, or, who does this thought come? It was just like, this does not require my thinking, and okay.
If you believe it.
And so
that's the question. Yeah.
Well, I must have bought it because
it sounds like you believe it.
There was no argument after that.
If you don't believe it, it's really easy to have to not believe that at all. Most people think that everything they do requires their thinking. So.
Yeah. So I'm like you. It was a relief.
I don't think that'll be everybody's experience.
Yeah. So anyway.
Well, yeah.
I shared my wife always asked me what the homework was or whatever, and I shared it with her after the class last week. And there was about 5 different occasions where she had some drama going on with the kids or with my teenage daughter.
Yeah.
And I just said, this doesn't require my thinking.
Isn't that great?
And it was so powerful.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. Caitlin's my daughter's at junior high, and the whole social thing and this, that, and the other. And it's like, it was a relief, total relief.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Playing before Christmas is what we're doing. By the way, just so that everybody will know, we will start a book study again on January the 9th, the first Monday, the second Monday in January, actually. The first Monday is the second. Yeah, on the 9th we'll start a book study. We'll read the book again, and that'll be a really good opportunity for all of you who haven't read it with us, especially, and people who want to catch up. And we'll have 2 more classes. We'll meet next week and the week after, and that'll be the end of it for this time. And we'll play for these ones. No heavy flashcards. Who else?
Well, I use this a lot. It too stopped me dead. Just stopped me dead. Every time I went to go thinking, I had something really funny happen tonight. It talks about things not being true. That one says, I said, we don't have any money. And Jay handed me a check that came in the mail. I mean, it came in the mail 2 minutes before, and it covered all the bills. And it was so funny because, you know, everything I say is untrue. Everything I think is untrue. I'm completely taken care of. It does not require my thinking, period. But what I found this week is that I use this flashcard all the time, and I cried all the time. And what I've been doing, and it just hit me tonight here, is that I've been thinking my way through the feelings that I have not been feeling. I've been thinking about those and shutting them down for so many years. And I used this religiously this week. And so I stopped thinking about it, and I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried. Raged through things.
Excellent. Love it.
Fortunately, not against my husband. Well, against the door, he was fine. And I don't do that stuff. I think about it. So, you know, and then I get sick, of course. So it's been, and I've been in a lot of physical pain this week, watching it come to ebb and whatever. So it's been very interesting. Just got it, because that's what it was about.
Thinking's a good way to suppress stuff.
Worked for me. It's not worked very well.
No, yeah.
Yeah, you're telling me that.
What this flashcard did for me is it allowed me to get out of the way enough to see a whole script event come up regarding employment and supply. And it was the interesting thing about it. What this flashcard gave me is that it wasn't an emotion while I watched it, while it came through. And I think we had a 7-minute conversation in the kitchen that went through every major relationship in my life and showed how script-driven it was. And the reason that I think I was able to let that all not resist it or not get stuck in thinking about it is that it did require my thinking. It just came through. So cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of going along with what everyone said, I felt more when I would use it more like a surrendering. And actually, at the beginning of the week, my flashcard changed to, I don't know what word for me was, I'm going to use a bad word, but fuck it. I would just say that over and over again. It was just because I've been like changing jobs and doing all this stuff, and I don't know if it was anger or whatever, but I didn't really care. It was just kind of like, fuck it. And I don't know if that worked for me. I did backtrack a little bit, and I had some, feelings come up too, and Adele just reminded me what it was. Yesterday I had some stuff come up when I was crying, but there wasn't any thinking going on. It was just a feeling, so that was pretty interesting. But for me, it was just more, I felt more of a surrendering and just allowing, just more of a allowing of whatever it is. So that's pretty much it.
But this does not, the fact that it does not require my thinking does not absolve me of responsibility for right behavior and does not free me from the karmic debts that are the result of my behavior. So keep in mind that although this does not require my thinking, it may require my listening. And I'm talking about listening internally within myself, not listening to the person out there who may require that too. But although it does not ever require my thinking, it may well require my going within and listening so that my reaction to the situation will be right. So that's the codicil of it. This does not require my thinking, but it may require my listening. And often, usually it doesn't even require that. Usually it's a throwaway. Yeah.
This one was really good. The last one, about hypnosis. I had it on my visor, and my husband was driving the car, and I was in it, and pulled the visor down, and it was, everything I see is hypnosis. He's like, everything I see is hypnosis? And it was a funny joke. So what I find is I put them in places where I am a lot, and I'm in my kitchen a lot at my home. So I put it there, and I had friends over, and they read it. And I said, it just helps me a lot in life. I said, because if things are bothering me, if I'm worrying about things I don't need to, I see that, and then I'm happy, and they say, boy, most people in life are happy just to get through life, and you get through good. How nice is that? And I said, it's true. And I have a son, I have 3 children, but my son and I are very connected. We just are. And out of everybody in my home, he's the one that keyed in on that, and he would come up to me and say, Mom, you know what, I'm not even worried about it anymore. It doesn't require my thinking. And it was really cool to see him react to that also. And it really, it went to that drop all concern. It was just a nice, another affirmation. And even right before coming here, something occurred, and it was with one of my kids being unhappy about something. And on the way over here, I was thinking how I could fix it. Because I'm very good at fixing things. And I thought about coming here and that. And I thought this does not require my thinking. Because on the way over here, I had that feeling that made me look inward to where that was coming from. And it does not require my thinking. And so, it's really been a nice week to drop the concern.
It's funny what you just said. The last 2 weeks, half the people in my life are sober that I grew up with, and the other half are insane or in prison or on their way to prison. And something you said about children and how we think that maybe we could take better care of them, or does God take better care of them? Something was said like 2 weeks ago, and I've been thinking about that. And I talked to a friend of mine who got a hold of some acid about 10 years ago, a bottle of it. And him and another friend just did a bunch of it for about 2 or 3 weeks. And they're both completely schizophrenic. And I talked to him on the phone. He just got out of prison. He's been in and out of prison for like the last 10 years. And the dichotomy of that karmic thing in my life, I can see it so clearly in my life, like bad decisions on the left, better decisions on the right, and it's been just been in my face, family members and stuff. It's been an interesting couple of weeks looking at that for sure.
What I found is that the flashcards have been cumulative for me, meaning I haven't found that I necessarily put away the ones that we've already done. They kind of stayed with me. And the hypnosis ones were really uncomfortable for me. I didn't.
They were meant to be.
Yeah, well, good. It worked. And this flashcard was a relief, but I also was still relating to the other ones, meaning, and you and I talked a little bit about this, like I could still hear, it made me realize when I would get to, this does not require my thinking, it made me keep going back to the chatter and how loud the chatter was. And I was thinking about that expression, like my ego is not my amigo kind of thing, and that's what I kind of came to, is like my mind is not my friend. My mind is not my friend because it feels so, has a life of its own that is really uncomfortable. And I really liked remembering the flashcard, and it felt like this does not require my thinking, but also
it led to other things because implicit in that was I'm not in charge. I'm not in control. I'm powerless. This is not. There's nothing for me to do necessarily. Mm-hmm. And so it was just a really good reminder. And similar to Lori, I had an experience today with someone at work who I clearly triggered that person, and my immediate thought was to repair it. And then what I realized was it didn't require my thinking. It was just, and it's a real distancing. It's like it brings the observer in, so to be able to just observe what's going on rather than being in it.
Yeah. Did any of you relate this? We talked a little bit about being in the audience last week too, about the difference between being involved in the play and being in the audience. But, this helps put you in the audience. The audience is not thinking about what the actors should do next. And the actor is not thinking about what the role should do next. The actor is performing the role, and the audience is watching the role performed. And the whole thing doesn't require thinking. And if the audience thought they needed to think about what the people on the stage should do next, then in comes all the frustration and everything else, and all the troubles and all the angst, and they're no longer at peace, and they're no longer beholder. And if the actor starts thinking about what his role should do next in this scene, then he, of course, fucks up the play, and he also loses all his technique and everything because he's now no longer being an actor, he's now being a playwright. So it has a lot to do with that, not thinking. It has a lot to do with it. If you aren't thinking, you can now be a beholder. If you're thinking, you can't. Thinkers are not beholders.
I was just thinking about something. Okay,
You're allowed to, Diana. It just doesn't require. It's just not required.
Years ago, I would have argued that there were things that I needed to think about, and so I was. God, I'm trying not to use that word, but I was contemplating this evening my teaching, and that would be something that if I was coming from a different space, I would tell you, I have to think about that, I have to plan it, I have to do this, but since I really know that that's my God script, I don't do any thinking in that at all. It just happens. And I was thinking it's almost like when you first get sober and your head's running and they tell you to get out of that, go work with another person because you're totally... So when I'm teaching, I am so centered in the now that there's no... That's the best no type of thinking. I don't know. It's joy. It's pure joy.
Precisely. And if it was a new class, and you had to get your material together for it, you still wouldn't have to think.
Absolutely.
What you would have to do is go within and be led to the right material.
And I totally know that.
And the right stuff. That's the point, see? In every case where you think you have to think, it's because we haven't learned to go within and allow ourselves to be led.
Yeah. And I just got that so clearly because any time in my life, too, when this other stuff seems to bubble up, it's just always this really now-centered space. Mm-hmm. And I'm really grateful for that.
And the results of my thinking are absolutely unpredictable. And the results of being led are 100% predictable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a really good week with this one too. I mean, this was a really powerful one for me because I do tend to think too much. And I actually went away to Boston for Thanksgiving and had one of those really peaceful times with my family, which are far and few between, that's for sure. I didn't have to think about, and I didn't have to ruminate over anything. I didn't. I had one interesting situation that happened while I was there that I've been kind of, I don't know, I'm amazed by. I really read my brother's script, and my brother is my abuser. I've forgiven him, and that took a long time to do, and I'm friendly with him now and feel good about him. And I read his script so big, and I just sat back and I said, okay, I didn't actively try to read his script. I'm really normally not his needle. It was, and I sat back and I said, I'm not going to think about this. It's done. He's 100% responsible for his script here. And lo and behold, because I didn't go into it and didn't think about it and didn't ruminate over it at all, the next morning he came to me and he said, look, I'm really sorry the way I reacted yesterday. And I was like, he made amends to me, and I couldn't even pretty much remember what it was about. I had just not thought about it. I just didn't require my thinking at all. It was his deal, had nothing to do with me. And I was impressed with that, with him. He's not in a program or anything. And I was impressed. But then now I see, and that's another situation. I was talking to Marianne in the car on the way here, and I was going on and on about this situation at work. And then afterwards, I literally stopped and thought to myself, wow, that just didn't require my thinking. Nothing that I said about the situation at work, nothing that I had done in the situation at work required anything from me. It would have worked out exactly the same way with me or without me. It didn't have anything to do with me. But I was just compelled to talk about it, of course. And she was very nice and listened to it.
Everything you speak is hypnosis.
Yeah, everything, and believe me. And that's actually the flashcard that flashed to me when I hung up the phone, and I was just like, wow, I just had a whole conversation of just complete and total hypnosis for me. Not for her. She was just like,
That means you were hypnotizing her successfully.
Yeah.
It was before her Starbucks. She unhypnotized herself. But so just I need to keep working on this one. In other words, it's now not that comfortable for me to think about things that really don't require my thinking. So I made a step forward, which is good.
And that's all of them, of course. Instead of the things that don't require my thinking, that's all of them.
Yeah, that's everything.
Yeah, okay.
What I've been aware of this week is how much is said that does not need to be said. There's no truth behind. Mm-hmm. And how if I really spoke truth of what did require my thinking, I wouldn't speak very much. Mm-hmm. And that's what I observed this week. Good. That was pretty incredible.
I didn't really even do this past week because I wasn't thinking about it.
Good job.
Good A.
There's been a zillion times when I'm trying to get a screw into that little stupid hole that a screw goes in, and I'm just trying to think that screw into the hole. I learned this 10 years ago, and it doesn't require my thinking. And when I just release that thought of I gotta get that in there, then it goes in, and it's happened every time. And that's really the clarity that I get through this exercise. I mean, just throughout my whole life. I mean, I had some drama a lot. Behind the steering wheel and the car and me doesn't work very well. And I had to drive to Santa Cruz and back for Thanksgiving. And I realized how resentful I truly am when you drive 350 miles by yourself. And it didn't require my thinking, it just was thinking. And then next thing I know, I've gone 10 miles, just like with this resentment in my head. Some guy said, well, you should be a virgin before you get married. And this is about 4 years ago when this guy said that. And that's all I could think about for 10 miles was this guy pissing me off. My daughter just got married and she's I'm like, she's 19. You know, if I do it when you're 35, it's a lot harder. And I was doing it at the time, which was pissing me off even more. So it was just really, you know, it's a really interesting exercise to like, it does, because right now I got to design a whole network. I got books this thick that I have to read. But I know that it's the same as the screw of the requirement. You know, it doesn't require it, it's just an occurrence. And then I can really get into that other thing of everything and that self-inquiry that you're talking about. It's really powerful to notice it after the fact, too.
So what's the 100% predictable? What's that? You said if I'm thinking.
If I'm thinking, the results are unpredictable, whether I'll think, whether the thinking will produce what I want or give me what I want or bring me joy or bring me trouble or whatever, you know, if I think, you know, my best thinking has very unpredictable results. If I go within and do what I'm led to do, it's 100% going to bring me closer to joy, is my point. If I'm being led, then it will be joyful. Then what I do will bring joy.
To everybody?
Some people just aren't ready to have joy brought to them.
It's like everyone brings joy. Some when they come here and some when they leave.
It will, yes, exactly. Some both ways.
So wait, your best thinking, you mean like affirmations?
No, I mean if I work on a problem and think about it, what should I do next Tuesday? Should I do this or should I do this?
Oh, yeah.
My mind grinds back and forth, you know, and the fact is that you can really prove it's wasted because, you know, I finally decide that I'm going to do A. My mind immediately spends the next rest of the day thinking about B, so I say, okay, B, and my mind then thinks about A. And when I finally decide I'm going to do A no matter what, and I get over there and I do B, and it doesn't work. Or I decide A and I do A, and it doesn't work. You know, the fact is that the results of my thinking are very unpredictable, and whether I'll do what I decide is very unpredictable.
The body's going to do it.
Yeah, going to do what it came here to do, you know. And from that viewpoint, from the viewpoint that the body's going to do what it came here to do, yeah, thinking is useless. And also, if we tie in the fact that everything, whatever it is that I'm thinking about, probably was garnered through seeing or hearing, and so it's hypnotism. And since the thinking itself is hypnotism, that pretty much gives us a quick evaluation of how useful it is, right? What it's saying is this hypnosis does not require my additional hypnosis.
Right.
Yeah, I do not need to re-hypnotize this hypnosis. It's another way of saying that, really. Yeah.
Is it possible to make, as you were saying, the wrong decision if you drop all concern and don't think about it, but don't sufficiently go within enough?
Well, yeah, I mean,
if you're not concerned about what decision happens because you trust that the right decision will be made and it does not require any thinking, won't the perfect decision always happen?
Well,
or can you still not go within and get there?
You can't play that game at just one level. Because the fact is that if I go within, had I gone within, I might have come up with an entirely different result. An entirely different behavior than I would if I didn't, okay? And the behavior that I did might have brought me a great deal more joy than the behavior that I had as a result of not going within. Nonetheless, from not going within and doing what I did, I've learned a lesson about going within, and so that was obviously the ideal thing to do, and obviously that's going to bring me quite a bit of joy down the pike. So, I mean, you know, what's this good and bad? You know, the whole thing.
Well, what I heard...
You talk like there's options. You talk like there was
Well, that's what I'm...
You talk like there was an option to decide whether or not I was going to go within or not.
Well, I didn't think there was, but something you said led me to believe that you could make the wrong decision.
No, you can make... I'm saying that the situation may require going within. I don't know whether you will or not. I don't know whether you'll be able to or not. And I mean, it may require, just in the sense that it might have come out better as a result of going in and being led, better in the sense of bringing more joy. But, no, I mean, everything's working out exactly the way it's supposed to.
I'm hearing it like this, that, well, maybe I didn't go within enough, which is a thought. So it's like, that doesn't require my thinking. Like, well, the outcome was this, but I didn't go within deep enough. See,
that's all.
Which brings back to this is not require my thinking.
Yeah.
Still get it back way, huh?
As long as there's somebody going within, you're not within enough.
You're still out.
This is all human stuff. This is all practicing. Yes.
I was just reading Joel last night in bed, the paradox that he presents in the opening of the Infinite Way, of that if you're coming to this spiritual work to improve your humanhood, it's not going to work. But he says if you dedicate yourself to the spiritual work, the likelihood of a more harmonious humanhood is possible.
Yeah, it must improve.
It must
In fact,
improve. Yeah.
I know he doesn't say it quite that way
Quite
there,
say it that way.
but it must improve, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of opening.
Sure.
Deal.
I mean, in fact, we could expect harmony as a result of not thinking, except that we can't expect while we're not thinking.
So what? When do we get to Kool-Aid?
All right.
Yeah, that's right.
If you didn't bring your Kool-Aid, that's not mine. Yeah.
Well, I definitely had similar experience as far as this was much more peaceful week than the previous week. I've used this one before.
It's cracking way down, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, really, it was nice. But almost like, I don't know, I've used this before. I heard it on one of the Barbara tapes before, and she talked about, just getting to the point where she's almost mad about getting angry at having so many thoughts, and she's making this decision and using this one. So I tried it a while back, and I had the same experience. It was easy for me to keep it in, I wrote it down in a few places, but it definitely came through quite a bit in different things. And my mind was really quiet, actually, to the point where maybe a little bit about what, like Adele shared, Dennis and I went to visit my family, and just had a lot of driving time and a lot of downtime and not a lot of activity. And for me, with that, not doing a lot of thinking, not a lot of activity, it's like, I think some stuff started to come up, just by slowing down so much. But almost going to the other extreme, like when I'm doing stuff and active, it's easy for me to kind of keep going, but like slowing down and just to the point where I didn't want to do anything, except really get quiet. And it was kind of, that part was kind of hard because I'm not used to operating that way. Just being so quiet, but also being so quiet that I almost didn't have a lot of I don't know, let's say motivation, but I don't know, just really slowing down, and having some time to do that. And getting a little uncomfortably with that because maybe, I didn't make that connection, but maybe, some feelings started to bubble up, God forbid. The one thing that you were just sharing about there was something that struck me. I think this probably was before we did this exercise the week before, but I caught myself, and I think it's a resistance behavior. I do something with the thinking, but I do this thing with making decisions, which is what you're just talking about. And I make myself crazy, thinking it's going to be, and I was talking to Diane about this one or that one, and a lot of times it has to do with around planning things, buying things. This was planning a trip to Hawaii, and that was kind of last minute, and I started doing that thing what I do. Oh, should I get the partial ocean view or the ocean view? And and my head will just start spinning on that, and I caught it. I think that week we were doing hypnotism, and I caught it like, oh my God, who cares? So many times I've gone there and you don't even notice with the energy that I'll put out. And I think it's a resistance behavior is somehow thinking that something on the outside, if I just arrange everything to look good on the outside, that it's going to be the perfect trip or the perfect whatever that is. And
or you might be afraid that you'll get it wrong, or you might be afraid that you won't look right. I mean,
that too, yeah.
It's also, I mean, trying to get it right is a very controlling thing, or it might just be being right, sure. It can have a lot to do with resistance behavior. Your kid's terror-stricken that she'll get it wrong and be laughed at or whatever the hell a problem might be,
That's true. That's probably true, wanting to do it right. And so finally I just said, I made a change a couple times, and I just said, you know what, I'm not going to do this. It doesn't require my thinking, and I made the decision. I said, I'm not going to do anything else towards this trip. It's like the necessities are done and everything else, and that's like a new thing for me, to not keep messing around with it, looking on the internet or whatever. So that was something that that I'm really going to work on, because those are the things that make those kind of decisions, and it could be little things like trying to decide what type of toilet paper to buy at the store. I'll think about it way too much. So. And it takes a lot of energy to do that.
It does. Of course, when you're not spending it there, like you say, then feelings might bubble up.
Well, yeah, that's why I think it's a big resistance behavior, from whatever needs to come out. So.
Yeah, when you get quiet, you can find out what's really going on.
Feelings will contact you.
Go within, you may find out what's in there. Beware going within. Yeah.
I've been, I kind of have like an argument with myself about one thing. I've been really, trying to phrase this right, been able to see that like I'm always doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And so pretty much thought is only like just noise or just background
right. Bingo.
to whatever I'm doing. But
thought is pretty much just noise, yeah.
But at the same time, then I get like this argument I have is, if I'm always doing what I'm supposed to be doing, am I not always thinking what I'm supposed to be thinking? It seems like we're going into this like we have a choice of what to think. But in actuality, don't we just have we're always just thinking exactly what we're supposed to be thinking at that time? Or is it a different realm from this physical action we do?
Well, the game is who's thinking. I mean, if you can be the beholder, it doesn't matter whether the thinking is going on or not. It's not me that thinks. It thinks. I don't think. He thinks. That Lee guy. He's the one down there scurrying around inside that squirrel cage, trying to keep it spinning and trying to figure out what to do and whether to get it right and all that sort of stuff, And he's the one that wants to get it right and all that stuff.
So it's like the same thing as like the physical action, like the thought action.
Sure.
So it's all.
Well, in Eastern philosophy much more correctly considers thinking to be a sixth sense. Sight comes in, sound comes in, thoughts come in. Okay? And it's much easier to think about it that way. It makes much more sense to deal with it on those terms, And one of my all-time favorite expressions for thinking about that is they refer to the committee or the chatter that's going on here, they refer to it as the monkeys chattering in the trees. And I just love that phrase. That was just the right level of significance on it. Monkeys chattering in the trees is what's going on between my temples.
So what you're saying is, it's not that you stop thinking, it's not quiet.
Stop paying attention.
Yeah.
Stop believing.
Right.
Isn't it that you identify yourself as being the mind?
Yes.
That's the problem?
That's the problem, sure. Exactly, yeah.
And then, if you wake up to that fact, then in that instant when you wake up to it, then you become the observer. And then before that, you're just asleep, basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, in fact, we learn very early in meditation, when we first start to meditate, this is the first thing you learn from meditation typically, is that I am not my mind. You know, I mean, we need to be very clear about the fact that I have a body and I have a mind, but I'm not in either of them. They're both in me. Okay? And then I have the necessary distance from my mind that I can watch it chatter.
Who's watching?
Well, the observer, I.
Me.
Yeah, the beholder is watching the whole thing. And I can watch the monkeys chatter in the trees. And the interesting thing about the thoughts in my head, those monkeys require me to feed them by giving them my attention and my energy and my drama and my worry and my tears and all that sort of stuff. So I can actually starve my monkeys to death.
That was great.
Well, not all monkeys are warm and fuzzy, you know? Now what happens is when you realize that it's not me, but it's my mind, then I'm in a position to withdraw energy from it. And when I withdraw energy from my mind, it runs out of gas. And when it runs out of gas, then I'm in the silence at length. Initially what happens is gaps start happening between the thoughts, and then the gaps get longer and the thoughts get less. And it's all a result of not feeding it. Just don't feed the animals.
Crazy animals.
Especially the monkeys.
Yeah, I spent like 3 hours on this website last Monday night. It's all like Ramana Maharshi stuff, and it's all basically saying, you know, if you think that you need to like find enlightenment or, you know, get there, the one who thinks that is the problem. Mm-hmm. And it's here. It's right here. It's in this moment. It's right here, and it's the reality of who you are. And they talk about the example of the absurdity of a fish, you know, seeking for water. It's like it's the essence of who you are, and just that I feel like that goes so well with our like last 3 flashcards. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm totally getting the cumulative result of that. I mean, that's not new information, but it hit me at a whole different place. I'm different from when I read that last time, whatever. Mm-hmm. As a result of just these last 3 flashcards of really getting the experience of working with everything that I say is hypnosis and everything that I think is hypnosis and everything, and that nothing requires no thinking. That in fact, the experience of thinking is what takes me out of the reality, mm-hmm. the joy, everything that I think I want already is.
That's right.
I'm only impeding it by focusing on, and then today I got reminded.
You're not even impeding it, you're just impeding your awareness of it.
I'm impeding my awareness of it.
It's unimpedable.
It's unimpedable. Right. And then Lee and I were talking today, and I just heard like ising. Ising, and then Lee said, and how aware of it are you? Mm-hmm. And I was sitting in a meeting tonight, and this girl spent 3 or 4 minutes talking about how she was sick for the last 3 weeks and how much it sucked and how far away from God she felt, and on and on and on and on and on. And I thought, okay, well that's over. That you just recreated it all for yourself by talking about it for the last 4 minutes. And I just got really clear on ising. Mm-hmm. How aware of it are you? Or do you want to talk about or think about something else?
Right.
And that's like the only question. Do you want to be aware of the reality, or do you want to think or talk about something else?
Ising now. Okay? Right now. And if you want to be aware of reality, you have to be aware of it right now. Okay? And now, and now, and now, the eternal chain together nows, all right? It is impossible for me to think about now. Absolutely impossible to think about now. I can think about the future, I can think about the past, but even if I think about what's here right now, thoughts are in time. And by the time I get to the end of the sentence, you know, we're hours old. Plus, what I'm looking at takes time to get here. So what I'm seeing is life that left you a while, I can't be in the now and think. So I can't be in the now and experience reality or transcendental, I can't think and experience reality or transcendental consciousness or God or the presence or whatever you want to call it. You can't do that thinking. Can't happen.
I have a question. What is it when, well, I went to an exhibit this weekend at the Art Museum, and I was standing in front of a Cezanne painting, and I wasn't thinking about it. It did something to me, but I wasn't, that's different than thinking. What is that? When something, it could be anything for anybody. You could be looking in the eyes of your child, or you could watch a sunset, or something that totally dissolves. Is that just putting you...
Reality. If you're looking at a work of art, you're getting, in that way, you're getting into the consciousness of the artist.
Absolutely. On one of them, I almost started, weeping at this picture.
You're seeing what he saw, not the picture, okay?
Absolutely.
Joel talks nicely about, if you think about it realistically, when you're looking at a painting, you're looking at daubs of paint, you can certainly sit there and discuss technique and stuff like that, but you're looking at paint and different colors and different blends, and and you're looking at paint on canvas, So you can get the idea that it's representational, but if you really get quiet and clear, the consciousness that painted that exists today.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
You didn't think about it, you experienced it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. All this being in the zone stuff is talking about not thinking, okay? When athletes are in the zone, they're not thinking. When artists are painting, they're in the zone and they're not thinking. When you're seeing art at that level, you're in the zone, you're not thinking it. Being in the zone and not thinking are essentially the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And were you to think, you'd screw it up.
Yeah. Well, I know the next thought was, after a minute or two, I wonder how he made that blue, and then it was over.
And now you're looking at canvas and paint.
Absolutely.
There it went.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, yeah.
Yep.
Oops. Yeah. Well, this does not require my thinking.
Did you look at that link that I emailed you? Because I don't really send that much. But it's a guy that did his Christmas lights to a rock and roll song.
I watched about 2 seconds of that.
If you would want to see it, for me, because I'm a programmer and I know electronics and programming, and it's a couple minutes long, but I had that and I'm just laughing through the whole thing because it's just like, but the guy did his whole house like a heavy metal Christmas song, and then the Christmas trees, and so I wasn't even thinking of, well, he has to do these, I was just like going, man, this is awesome. And I was just like so into the creation. And then...
I was thinking, nobody's paying me to listen to this shit. And he was the next button up in the corner.
So the cool thing is the subject said, you really need to be a programmer of electronics to appreciate this.
Yeah, well, I know one of them, but I didn't.
Reading was calculated.
It may be required, but it's not sufficient.
But I'm just talking about being in that zone of just we. There's what it was.
Yeah.
I didn't tell me when I said that.
Sean, I can relate to that because I've got into wood crafting in the last couple of years doing floors, and I can walk into a house and just look at the house and just feel that.
Right.
So that's something that I appreciate. That's kind of cool.
So last week this topic got brought up about if everything I say is hypnosis and nothing requires my thinking, I start planning activities to be alone because I want to experience something and not be chattering away with a friend. And even if I am with people and they're chattering away, I find myself responding less and uninterested by a lot of stuff. And you made a comment to me about, like, yeah, you have to decide if you really want to the energy into maintaining friendships or something like that.
You may have to.
You know.
Decide?
Well, if you want to maintain certain friendships, you will have to decide that you want to do that, and it will be a very 3D human activity.
Some friendships are effortless, right?
Yeah, friendship is effortless. That's what we call friendships.
Isn't the act of wanting, doesn't that negate whatever you're trying to accomplish anyways?
No, not necessarily, but it's just, I mean, that's all 3D stuff, that's all human stuff. You know, as you deprogram yourself and as you empty out, the stuff you're emptying out is the stuff that the entire world is conditioned and believes absolutely. So there are going to be less and less topics that you can discuss with people who are not doing this kind of work and continue to be true to yourself. Okay? That's a problem, if you think it's a problem.
I've been having
It's a reality.
a really tough time with a sponsor, another program whom I love dearly, and who is not in any of this work. And I have less and less to discuss because she's absolutely hypnotized. Very much regarding health.
And so you decide how you want to play that, you know.
Well, how I played it is I don't discuss a whole range of
Okay, so you've made a decision there about how to maintain that relationship because the relationship is dear to you. It's worth not being right. It's worth not having to clarify her or bring her up to speed or anything like that, you know. So you do love her. You're willing to let her be who she is. That's a good sign, you know. But the fact is that, you know, the other thing that it is, and the other thing that happens is that as we, you know, the more time I spend in my center, the less concerned I am about everything. And most people construe unconcernedness as lack of love.
Right.
And think that a person who is not dramatically displaying concern is cold.
There's no passion.
And so you get to decide how you want to play that. You know, you can play double talk. There's lots of ways you can play it, and it happens typically individually, or you can not care.
I think it's quite the opposite. When I love and care about somebody, I just let them be. I don't really need to talk them into or out of anything.
That's true. Certainly is. That's what I was saying about her and her sponsor. She loves and cares for that person, so she just lets her be.
But when you see them as hypnotized, you're hypnotized. Just what you said to me.
In one sense.
You can observe that that's the appearance, but that's really not the truth about them.
Yeah, but the fact is that they are hypnotized in every sense that we use the word. If they're not hypnotized, nobody is.
I do think, I mean, I've experienced that a lot with what you said, though, prior to that about not showing concern or reacting to things, or, you know, I think some people do expect that from their spouses or relatives or friends or whatever. They expect to engage in a certain amount of drama, and if you don't do drama or reaction or concern, and if you don't display that, just because for me, a lot of times I just don't believe it, I don't see the need, then they think that that's some kind of reflects maybe on how much you care for them.
That's right.
So I have experienced it, and I tend to be, you know, in certain areas, don't have a lot of concern for different things.
And I thought about that in most cases. It's true. It is a reflection of how much I care about them. The fact is if you're coming from a place of no concern and you're really seeing very clearly, you really drop all concern about people. I mean, their health or lack of health is part of the dream, is part of the Leelaa. Their living or dying is part of the Leelaa. All of that's part of the Leelaa. And if you really are clear about what's going on, you lose a great deal of concern about that. It's no longer so important, any of that stuff.
Well, what about like being of service and things like that?
What about it?
Is that hypnosis also?
Of course. It's in the Leelaa. It's part of the play.
But
who's being of service?
But from what you said earlier about the karmic part, and
you can't have it up. You got to play at the level you're at.
Okay.
You got to play at the level you're at. Until you're absolutely clear, until you are not having any reactions, until you are completely disassociated from everything, you are accruing karma, and you're going to pay the price of what you're. As long as you pay the price of your actions, you're going to pay the price of your actions, or reap the rewards or the benefits. I mean, the fact is that your behavior in this Leelaa has results, and I mean, you pays your money, it takes your everything, but that's all 3D. And if you know who you really are, it's all irrelevant. But you have to operate from where you're operating from. There's no sense acting like it's irrelevant if you're not there, because you may not be comfortable. Okay, so you got to play the game at the level you're at, and see where you are, and there's, it's not like it's good to have arrived anywhere. The whole thing is Leelaa. Everybody's already done. The whole thing is Leelaa. So there's no awards for being further down the path or more disassociated or anything like that. It's all part of the path, and your non-reaction your level of non-reaction will increase at whatever rate it increases. So it increases over however many lifetimes as it takes, and there's nothing you can do about speeding that up or slowing it down. So you don't need to have a reaction about that either.
The reason I asked the question is my brother is an addict, and he's been in and out of jail recently, and I've never really reached out to him or tried to help him in any way, and minimally. And I'm at that place right now where he's,
Sure. And it's a lovely thing to do humanly, to be of service. And if there were no you there at all, and it was entirely God as you, it might well do exactly the same thing and be of service. I mean, if you did go within and get very clear about what I'm supposed to do, it might be to go be of service. So there's nothing right or wrong about being, or it might be resistance behavior. Okay? You see? It might be God in action, or it might be resistance behavior. The same exact form of being of service. Could be either one of those.
Depending upon whatever you're...
Depending on where it's coming from and what you're doing, And all of that's irrelevant.
It doesn't require your thinking.
Bingo! let's leave thinking there. Okay, that's great. I wanted to say a couple of things and then give you the next week's flashcard. Go sit on your life. Couple of points that look good this afternoon. Yes. As a result of this work, this is a Joel quote. As a result of this work, we are promised inner peace. Not spouses, money, and I had white picket fences, health. We're not promised any of those things. We're promised inner peace. And vis-a-vis what Joanne mentioned earlier, we will get the added things when we are no longer concerned about them. Okay? A comment on last week. Peace, as the world gives it, is merely the momentary absence of problems, like the absence of war, or the absence of lack, or the absence of disease, or the absence of whatever. My peace is the result of staying in your center, okay? Not reactive. And staying in this not reactive, which requires not thinking, by the way. So we know how we're doing by the amount of our non-reaction. That tells us the extent to which we're in our center and the extent to which we're in my peace. And then I got this great statement. There is no more reasonable conduct than to discard reason. I love that. There is no more reasonable conduct than to discard reason. So, it is reason. Okay, next week's flashcard is not far from this one. It's, I don't know how this should be. Where this could be he, or could be she, or could be it. It could be a spouse, or it could be a kid, or it could be a dog, or it could be a situation, or it could be an opportunity, or, okay? I don't know how this should be.
Oh, this is a good one for me.
I think that we'll have fun with this one. And it's a great relief, because it frees you up in quite a different way from not thinking, but it's a freer. It's another freer. And it's not an emptier outer. See, the previous ones were emptier outers. These ones are just stopping.
I've been reading like 7 principles of life or whatever, and one of them is, to go without judgment. So would this kind of fall in the realm of that? Because that's actually what I was doing last week.
Certainly a judgment is one form of a concept, but this is going without concepts.
Okay.
Knowing how things should be is our concepts.
One of the heaviest burdens.
The heaviest burden. I heard a great Chinese proverb in the morning meeting, that endless source of wealth, of information. This one was good. It says, if you want an hour's happiness, take a nap. Okay? If you want a day's happiness, go fishing. If you want a month's happiness, get married. That's worth about a month. If you want a year's happiness, arrange to inherit a large sum. A great sum of money will keep you happy for about a year. But if you want always happy, be a service.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I especially like the first four. We'll work on the fifth one later. What else? Anything? All right, let's get quiet just for a minute. Let's feel on this. Okay, thanks for coming. Love y'all.
Thank you.